Today, we're reflecting on one of the most dramatic and powerful stories in the Bible, the 10 plagues of Egypt, as told in Exodus 7-12. This narrative is not only about judgment but also about liberation, faith, and God's unmatched power. The story begins with the Israelites living as slaves in Egypt under Pharaoh's harsh rule. God chose Moses to lead his people to freedom. He told Moses, I have heard the cry of my people. Go to Pharaoh and say, let my people go. Moses, along with his brother Aaron, went to Pharaoh with this message. But Pharaoh hardened his heart and refused to release the Israelites. Then God began to display his power through the plagues, each one directly challenging the false gods of Egypt. First plague, water turned to blood. Moses stretched out his staff over the Nile and all the water in Egypt turned to blood. The sacred river became unusable. Second plague, frogs. Frogs came out of the rivers and invaded every house, causing chaos and discomfort. Third plague, gnats. The dust of the land became gnats, infesting people and animals alike. Fourth plague, flies. Swarms of flies invaded Egypt, but the land of Goshen, where the Israelites lived, was spared. Fifth plague, death of livestock. A disease struck Egypt's livestock, while the animals of the Israelites remained unharmed. Sixth plague, boils. Painful sores broke out on the Egyptians and their animals. Seventh plague, hail. A devastating hailstorm destroyed crops and injured those who didn't seek shelter. The eighth plague, locusts. Swarms of locusts consumed what was left of the crops, leaving Egypt in ruin. Ninth plague, darkness. A thick darkness covered Egypt for 3 days, demonstrating God's power over the sun, worshipped as a deity by the Egyptians. Despite these signs of God's power, Pharaoh continued to harden his heart. Then came the 10th and final plague, the most devastating of all. 10th plague, death of the firstborn. God sent a destroying angel across Egypt, taking the lives of all the firstborns, from the poorest families to Pharaoh's heir. However, God instructed the Israelites to mark their doorframes with the blood of a lamb. When the angel saw the blood, he would pass over those homes, sparing their firstborns. This was the first Passover. This final plague broke Pharaoh's resistance. He finally allowed the Israelites to leave, freeing them from slavery. But what can this story teach us today? First, we see that God is just and faithful to his promises. He hears the cries of his people and acts on their behalf. Second, the plagues remind us that no human power or false god can stand against the one true God. Finally, the Passover foreshadows Jesus Christ, the Lamb of God, who shed his blood to save us from the slavery of sin. May this story inspire you to trust in God's power and celebrate the freedom we have in him. If this message touched your heart, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. God bless you and see you next time.